Hi YouTubers, it's Roxanne Holland here from Rox's Cards and Crafts, bringing you a part 2 on how to make your own embossing folders. So I will be using Design Space, but if you've got another cutting machine such as a Silhouette, you should be able to do this as well. Using Design Space, I will also show you how to do it just using dies, your own metal cutting dies. So I'm using the Sizzix Big Shot when I show you those examples. So go ahead and open up Design Space. Now if you've got access, you'll get this for free. If not, you could probably go on to the internet and go and find another design. So this is a heart and a cross. Now this one was by Amy Cordray. And how you can tell, just go to the search and type in cross and just go and have a look at something that you might want. Now I saw Amy's cross straight away, which was this one. Now if you go to the 3 little dots down there, it tells you here who the contributing artist was. I have messaged Amy because a few people were interested in buying this SVG, so that's completely up to Amy because it's Amy's image. Well, it's hashtag M44CEFC27. So I'm just going to pop on that onto the screen and hide the picture. To make the card that I made, so once again I pre-wrote on it and I've got blessings in that, but all I want to do is to show you the embossing folder. Now this embossing folder is 3.75 in width, 5.75 inches in height. So that's to match, this is the topper, and that's to match my 4x6 cards. That's the size that I use. Now what you need is put the size card that you want. You need this to be the size of the card you're going to use, because if you don't, when you put it through your embossing machine, the Big Shot, you will get a lot of lines. So I'm going to choose white for this card in case you wanted to put some writing in it. Easter. Just grab your cross and control and then the square, and I want you to put a line and then center. So that'll be the center of your embossing folder. Now we can grab the Easter if you want to go down this track. Just make 2 of these negative squares. So I got rid of the wording. Now you can obviously use a stamp. If you don't want to go down this path, just selected those and go to combine and exclude and then duplicate. So you want 2 of these. These are the negative squares. They're negative because we're going to cut that cross So that cross is going to be cut out of there. So you'll have 1, 2, 3 of the positive crosses and 2 of the negative squares. If you were doing this with a die and a Big Shot, you would cut the size of the square topper that you need. To cut them in the same place, you just need to put them on top of each other or glue them together, but I'll show you that. So it's the same concept. We're just cutting out a die from pieces of paper. And just a quick afterthought, just change that to white. Okay, so when you go to cut it, they all cut on the same cardstock. For the die cutting machine, so I'm using a Sizzix Big Shot. I've gone ahead and cut, let me show you. So this is the original folder that I made, and I used a different cardstock. And I found that when I put it through the sandwich, which was probably a bit too tight, it did muck up, but it did still produce a nice image. I'm going to be using, for an example, for the die cutting machine, Francheville cardstock. Let me turn that light off. So generally speaking, you want 200 to 250 GSM to stick together. So I've hand cut 2 pieces of the same ones that will be cut in the Cricut, 3.75 by 5.75, and I stuck them together. If you're going to do this is just much easier to get your thickness. Do it when you know that you can give the glue time to dry. Don't go and cut this with wet glue. That is also going to sit on, so this one is for the die cut, and I've scored 1/2 inch up the top, and that then will hold this, and that makes the folder like this. So let's go ahead and do the die cut one. Oh, just a thing also, save your cereal boxes. This is Wheat Bix. Cereal boxes are great. That's the best consistency, but I would still do double of those. Here I've done some little ones. So that little one there is great for a card like this. So this, let me have a look. There we go. The thing that love sat on, I made sure that fit in there. I didn't get a lot of lines, and that's the center of that frame with the holes in it around there. So you can make those. You can do thanks or thank, and you got a little tag saying you. So the world's your oyster when you know how to make your embossing folders. Oh yeah, this was the first one I did on the other tutorial. This is a great way for if you were doing, and I'll show you a card that I did. So this card here I saw in the aisle, in the birthday aisle at Woolworths. So when I printed the title, I individually then cut out the letters, lined them up from behind, ran them through the Big Shot, and that raised the title at the front. And that was a bit of the reason behind doing the tutorial that I did for this one. It actually turned out very well. But it's, yeah, so the first one I did is more of a freestyle, and it works really well for that. This one works really well for your embossing folders, the traditional way. So I've chosen this one, and I'm going to cut 3 of those in the usual way that you cut dies. I have the 3 positive images here which I need to glue together, and I have the 3 here under here. When I peel those away, I have glued, so this is what this is, but we haven't cut it on the Sizzix yet. So I'm trying to do 2 at once to satisfy both users. So there's 1, take it off gently, and there's 2. So that's equivalent to, so they'll be glued together, and that's equivalent to when I hand cut these for the Sizzix machine. Okay, So they are going to be the negative space and the negative space. I just got to, let me get a ruler. Of course, there we go. Just score a little flap. You can make this little flap however you want. You could use tape if you want. I just found this to be the most secure. And I'm just eyeballing roughly about 1/2 inch. And I would like that to be a really good crease. I don't want it to move. And it's quite sturdy, being the cereal box. All right, so I have 2 of those. Now, when cutting on your Cricut, please make sure that you have a nice new blade. I back off the pressure, and I've always done this. So I've got the Explore Air 2, so I do use the dial, but I've also got my own custom settings for my cutting. So I use the same cardstock all the time. If I use something different, well, then I've just got to practice cut to make it right. I made sure that I had a new blade so nothing would go wrong, and it needs to be a very, very clean cut. You don't want jagged cuts. You want it to be a beautiful, crisp, emboss image on your card. So it comes out beautifully with the cardstock that I always use. This is Kaiser Craft. They're the 3 and they're the 3. So I'm going to go and I'll go and glue these together because I want to give those time to dry and then glue these together. And I'll show you my process there. So now I have double of the negative space, or the negative side, and we just need to cut this one for these 2 to be the same. So just have a think where you want your die to go. Eyeball it so that it's in the middle, but whether you want it down here, you might want to put grass and flowers and a heading up the top. So I wouldn't put it smack bang in the middle. Have the thought of your card that you're designing in your mind. Yeah, let's stick this down. Don't want that to move because I've got that on the side. And I find by sticking the 2 pieces together is a lot easier than trying to line up 2 pieces and cut this twice. So every time they go through, they'll get pressed again. Let's see, that cut. What we need to do first is stick this in place. And you want it to go right up against that crease. So right up against it, make sure you've got even amount of space on both sides and make sure it closes well. Now the glue needs to be right up against it as well, right up against that line. Give it a good amount of glue. And again, all right, do this first, but again, you're going to need to cure the glue. So making this embossing folder could take several days. And it's all about making this folder work properly. Spreading that glue all around. I mean, it shouldn't have to be 24 hours, but I mean, you could make several and just have them on the go. Don't be in a hurry. Just make sure you lift it up so it doesn't look like it's exactly against that line. However, once it's on there and dried, then we can go with the next step. So I'm going to do the same thing to the Cricut ones. So I just want to position them, make sure they're nice and straight. And when it should be cut straight. So essentially what I've done, I don't have to position this one because the card size is that, and I already did the positioning within Design Space. So both of those cards that I've cut are the same size. Okay, just open it up so it doesn't stick. That one went a bit better. I think that's as close as it's going to get. As long as it, see, the whole idea is that when it goes through the embossing folder, that doesn't get pushed over, and that will make that move. It's pretty stuck. I mean, I never had to worry about that with the first couple ones I've made. It was just that yellow cardstock for some reason. So by the time I come back and do another day's filming, both of those will be nice and cured. Like I said, they're both the same size. Hand cut, glued together, machine cut, glued together. So both the same, much of a muchness. And for anything like me, I have dies and a Cricut machine, so this will be handy for those that have dies as well. All right, so what I can do now is, this is still the same day filming, so I just want to get this bit out of the way. Find a good paperweight, and this is actually a paperweight. So I hope I can keep that out of the way. I mean, that up a bit. Now, I have one of the 3 dies. Now, I did cut that out of that one, but I'm not going to use it. It just went a bit funny. So what we need to do is glue the back of this before you glue it all together. And what we're doing is inlaying that die cut out back into that. That keeps that in place, so we can guarantee that when it goes through your die cut machine, nothing will be out of place. Make sure it is in before it dries. You want to make sure that the glue hasn't latched on to this bit. So it should be perfect. And then what you can do is glue the rest of these guys together, which I'll go off screen and do in a minute. And that will be perfect. Do the same here. So this is for the Cricut machine one. All right, we are at the end of this, how to make this embossing folder. Now, I can't make this a tutorial about how to cut this embossing folder. You have got to find the correct sandwich, and by sandwich I mean, you know, which order do these things go in. But you've got to remember also, this is a homemade embossing folder. It's not one of your regular ones. So it does, I believe, and I believe for a reason, because I did a couple of test cuts, that it needs something to push it through. And what works for me is on the multi-purpose platform, we've got no tabs. We have a clear plate. Now, I use the Sizzix Emboss and Transfer set, it's called. So this comes in a set like this. And what it consists of is this silicone grey mat and what we call the impressions pad. So it's just the right thickness and stuff like that. You can try using a thin silicone mat of some description if you don't. But look, these are not expensive and just a game changer. I also want to advise that before you go trying this folder, so this has been through a couple of times and it's nice and solid. Just do a couple of cuts. So your right side is going to be facing up and it's got to push through. So that covers enough. I'm going to put the thick end of the folder going in first, and my silicone, grey silicone sheet and the impressions pad. That feels perfect. It's going through well, and the squishy mat will come out, and that's normal. So I'm just going to put it through the once. This is a test run before you go and use up all the proper sizes. And I can see a few cracks there. You can see a couple of cracks there. The first time I did it, I didn't even get an impression. So I went and had a bit of a play with that, but it should be good. That should give you a good impression, so then you'll go and cut your cardstock size there. Put it roughly where it should go. Okay. Okay, to put that through. Okay, and my impressions pad. That one was perfect. No cracking at all. And I'd say due more to the fact that the more it goes through, the better it becomes. So that's been through, nothing moved, not like the first one I did. The first one I did moved, but it's still sturdy. Just a matter of finding your own sandwich for your die cutting machine. Do a few practices. Don't go wasting good card toppers. Just do your practice runs on the cardstock that you're going to use. Please like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.